Hey there, Captain Kiddies. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 7 of the anime series, Hitsugi no Chaika. And I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, I have to say. Now, of course, we're picking up with Chaika, Toru, Akari, and Frederica, respectively, in their seeking out of the next in the 8 heroes that took down the Gaz Empire and is holding on to Arthur Gaz relics, essentially. And they end up being visited in the middle of the night by this ghostly visage, whatever it is, that calls itself Guy. Now, this is the first time in a while they've seen this character, and he's giving them, hints and clues that are going to lead them potentially to the next in the line of heroes, this Simon Scania. But the thing that's interesting about this is Toru finally has enough and voices his concerns that maybe they shouldn't be so trusting with the information Guy's giving them, and in reaction to this, Guy just kind of ribs him and is like, well, that's what you should be thinking, that's how you should be reacting to me, before unceremoniously disintegrating in front of their eyes and leaving them to mull this over in after effect. Now, of course, after they've gone to town and gotten a bunch of necessities and stuff put together for this quest, there's a point where Toru and Akari sense something is amiss, and they end up being attacked, unexpectedly so, by Gillette and his crew. They have cornered them, and it's just a brilliant fight that unfolds, between all of them. We see that Gillette and Toru are pretty well matched as far as their prowess with the blade. Now, of course, this is somewhat arguable because you have, 4 of Gillette's people ganging up on Toru and Akari respectively, with Chaika in the background trying to get her magical weapons ready and everything like that. But it's very interesting to me that the thing that stops this battle is Frederica. She's very jealous. She wants to do some blood spilling of her own, and this is what essentially saves them. She transforms into the Dragoon, and the Gillette folks are all, completely stunned and enamored by this. They're freaked out, and of course, she flies them away. They've left all of their stuff behind, their vehicle, all of the, accessories and accoutrements that they built up that they got ready for this journey, necessitated by Gillette's sort of ambush. And they figure, whatever, we're going to just head to this valley of fog and everything like that to try to find the people who have been lost. There's, myths and legends being told around town that people go and they never return. And so they are all somewhat uncertain about how they're going to approach this when they finally get to this ravine filled with fog. You have Toru, being ever the strategist, trying to get Frederica to agree to fly them overhead so they can get a better bird's eye view. And then, of course, Akari notes, hey, wait a minute, and there's Chaika going down the ravine on all fours. So essentially it's been decided for them. They're going to go down one way or the other. When they get to the bottom of this thing, we find that Toru has been easily overcome by this magical fog, which creates these illusions, and it's all, sort of revolving around the idea of betrayals with people who you're close with and everything like that. We see that Chaika, Akari, and Frederica have been able to create a barrier that keeps this fog out of their system. If they breathe it in, they would be experiencing these illusions. But quick thinking basically saved them, created a safe zone where they're overseeing exactly what Toru's going through, which amounts to his and Chaika's only surviving the fall down into this ravine, and they're becoming very close. You could tell something was off because Chaika's stunted way of speaking was suddenly very fluent, and, I'm surprised he didn't pick up on that. But essentially you have the 3 other girls watching this from afar, and they figure out a means by which to break through the barrier briefly enough, to have him pass through it and then wake him up back into reality. And it's just very funny when they finally do this and they're beating the hell out of him. Wake the hell up. And of course this creates more of a sort of jealousy rift between he and Akari. But I love that they, utilizing Chaika's magic as well as the Dragoon form of Frederica, they figure out a means by which to travel through this fog. They have to find the hub that is generating it and everything like that, and they manage to do so relatively quickly, utilizing this power, this almost strategic, they'll shoot a little bit ahead and then they'll run a certain amount of time, and then they'll shoot again and run a little more, and this gets them to this hub, which they successfully destroy, and all of a sudden all of the magical, mystical, illusionary fog is completely wiped away. Now they find Simon Scania, but it's almost as if his mind is entirely broken from the betrayals he suffered, and of course through his dialogue they realize, well, that's what this all has been set up for. But anyone who falls to its embrace would have to suffer the same sort of betrayals he felt in life. After the war and everything like that, his wife and one of his fellow soldiers ran off with each other, just felt betrayed, and he became somewhat of a hermit. Now, I was beginning to suspect that maybe this was a lost cause and he didn't have in his possession any of the Arthur Gaz relics, but in fact he did, and Toru manages to take it from him without any sort of argument or anything like that. He's basically just wants to be left alone, left to his own devices. He tells them how to get out of that area. There's like a cavern that they travel through, which brings them to an overlook of that city that they had just come from. And, you know, that's pretty much the crux of this episode. Why I thought it was so expertly timed was that misdirection of that, you know, illusionary fog and the comedy that ensued in Toru's visions of becoming close with Chaika and all this stuff, and then being betrayed by her with Gillette, all this unexpected twisting and turning, but even more so that ambush that Gillette's crew had really done on them. You know, they had used this almost psychic ability to locate them, pinpoint their location within this city, and it was just really cool that we saw how effective they are in the pursuit of Chaika, and the misunderstanding that Gillette finally sort of got wind of, the fact that Chaika just merely wants to have a funeral for her father, and this gave him pause. Very noticeably, of course, his right-hand lady, who's got a major crush on him, Vivi, suggests they should not take this at face value. They shouldn't be trusting to Chaika's words and all that kind of stuff. But it's just that much more momentum for the story that, hey, Gillette's crew is right on our heels and we got to keep moving, that kind of thing. But I love at the very end, of course, once they're moving on and they've finally got back to their vehicle and Chaika's driving, you know, essentially she's questioning Toru about his little fantasy about being with her and was there romantic involvement. She's not really saying it, putting it into words, but he kind of dismisses it like, well, you know, it was only because I couldn't really be in love with my, air quotes, sister. You know, Frederica's a dragoon, she's a shapeshifter, and that's kind of off limits. So naturally, I would think about the one girl that is not off limits, and this completely ticks her off. Very, very hilariously. She's grumped out about it. She throws her roll at him and everything. I just thought that was a perfect way to end this episode. Nice little soliloquy there toward the end of Unrequited Love. So yeah, their mission moves ever onward, and I'm sticking right with it. I absolutely love it every step of the way. And yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.